Okay, so we're coming to the end of this 2.5 years or so of discovering Buddhism. Congratulations for those who've seen it through. And of course, welcome to those who are newly engaging, jumping in the deep end of the pool. Okay, so I wanted to, first of all, I'll just say something about, in general, this special integration practices is, it's basically up until now, each of the modules has been following through the lam-rim, the graduated path to enlightenment. And then this one that's called special integration practices is focusing on our own individual practice. And these practices were advised by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And some people go, oh, that's pretty intense for an introductory program. But nonetheless, it's what Rinpoche was kindly introducing to us is that we have to put things into practice to have any realizations, that at the, if it stays at the level of acquiring knowledge, there's great benefit, and whatever knowledge stays on your mind stream from that, we carry with us throughout the rest of this life and into future lives. But if you're like me, not a lot stays there without further deepening it through our practice. And so this is the intention of this particular module. So I'm just going to outline what all the things are, and then I want to focus on just two elements this week, which are following on from our discussions about Tantra and introduction to Tantra. I'm not sure how far away to put this. Give it a go. The volume's being adjusted manually because I can't do that from here.
It was much louder before as well. It was like just.
I know. That seems good. I mean, everyone can hear me in here anyway. It's for the recording. It's okay? Good. Okay, so some of the things I'll be talking about next week is the lam-rim style lam-rim retreat. So as I mentioned, these 13 modules have been going through all the topics. And then there are opportunities to do a lam-rim retreat, which I know some of you have already done, even at Kopan, doing a month-long lam-rim retreat. And, if people have that opportunity to go to Nepal and immerse yourself in the deep immersion, it's really worth it. It's fantastic. People are there just to do the retreat. Similarly, in Australia, what is required here, as a minimum, is a 2-week retreat, or we say 10-day retreat, actually, that we're fortunate in Australia that there's one held every year in January at Chenrezig Institute, right at the beginning of January. And then there's also one held at Daytong Ling on Kangaroo Island, September, October, like usually the end of September, beginning of October. So we're very fortunate in Australia that we have those 2-week opportunities, because my responsibility as the teacher to make sure there are opportunities available. So they're available. We're not a retreat centre here, as you can see, but we do try to do it nonetheless. Another one is the 100,000 prostrations, which we'll go into next week. The ones I wanted to focus on this week were Vajrasattva, the recitation of Vajrasattva, 100,000 mantras, long mantras. And that in a context of a retreat would be 3 months, but often people complete it as a daily practice, which is a lot harder, as people have learned, when you're trying to do a certain number of recitations on a day-by-day basis. It's much more challenging, right? And the other one is 3 Nyung Nä. So Nyung Nä means literally abiding in the retreat. That's what we're going to start looking at this morning. So it says to do the retreat. So 3 things: do the retreat, know how to do it. I usually interpret that as helping set up, and that's what I do. I said, as long as you come and help set up for a Nyung Nä, and then be able to lead others in it. So what I tend to do is say, can you lead a session, on the one of the easier sessions, should I say, shorter sessions. And already people are gulping and holding their breath and going, oh my God, oh my Buddha, sorry. Anyway, OMB, as Venerable Yeshe would say. So why retreat? So we have, so as I said, the Nyung Nä, literally, that's a, sort of the Tibetan word, literally means abiding in retreat. And so this particular practice is a Chenrezig practice on the 1,000-arm Chenrezig, which is this one over here. And Avalokiteshvara Chenrezig said, by reciting this essence mantra of mine, one will attain the career of a bodhisattva, the compassion of all the conquerors, meaning Buddhas, called the matrix of engaging exalted wisdom. For whoever is bound by fetters and whoever will meet with bondage, for all sentient beings who are in danger of water, fire, and various kinds of suffering, this essence of mine, as in the mantra, acts an abode, a protector, a refuge, and a friend. Okay. Is this essence mantra of mine is thus a great vehicle. If by reciting it one time, even the 4 root downfalls of a fully ordained monk, nobody is here, so you don't have to panic about that one, are purified. But it means that, they've taken many, many vows. And so the heaviness of being a fully ordained monk and breaking the root vows is purified. So that's amazing. And the 5 negative actions of immediate retributions are entirely purified. So that's one of killing your mother, your father, killing an arhat, taking blood, causing the Buddha to bleed. So with malicious intent, not just by accident, and causing a split amongst the Sangha. So if causing the split amongst the Sangha, we might think we wouldn't do. In general, that would be turning one group of Sangha against another. So we have this thing of not criticizing any, for example, any tradition that the Buddha taught, which was all of the, sort of Theravada and Mahayana, Vajrayana traditions, but also not turning, if we think about it as Sangha meaning community, even within our Dharma center here, of not turning people against each other. So that can happen easily once you get 2 human beings together, I've discovered. Or my friends in the Philippines say, you get 2 human beings together, you've got an NGO. They've got so many NGOs. In any case, I wanted to because it's geared to go on this side. I mean, its orientation is that side, so all right. Okay, so when we were looking at Intro to Tantra, we were talking about when you engage in a practice such as this, as visualizing the deity in front, or if you have the Chenrezig empowerment, you can visualize yourself as the deity. The idea is that we're wanting to view our own body as pure. This is what we looked at, of made of light in the aspect of the deity, is what we say, and transforming the environment into the celestial abode of the deity, the divine abode of a deity, the celestial mansion, etc. So, before I get on to the detail, this practice of Nyung Nä was one that was developed by this amazing nun, Bhikshuni Lakshmi Galongma Palmo in Tibetan. So she had leprosy, and it was said by composing this practice and making all these offerings to the Buddha Chenrezig and reciting the mantra. So when it says the Dharani, there's a long mantra. It's only about 4 lines long. It's not too bad. There's a longer one, which is at least a full page, but that's not a requirement to recite. But in general, we're familiar with Om Mani Padme Hum, so we recite Om Mani Padme Hum. So she developed this practice, and by engaging in this herself, she actually cured herself of leprosy. That wasn't necessarily, oh, should I say she was cured. So it's a very powerful purification practice. Like I met this nun who Lama Zopa Rinpoche had advised to do 1,000 Nyung Nãs, and I saw her after she'd done 26 in a row at Root Institute in Bulgaria. And she came out of that retreat because Lama Zopa Rinpoche was teaching, and her skin was glowing, like it says to transform your body into that one pure light. And she was absolutely glowing, totally glowing. I saw her another time subsequently when she wasn't doing the Nyung Nãs anymore, and the glow had sort of, you do a retreat and you feel a glow, and then see how long that lasts. If it lasts a week, you're lucky. But that's some of the benefits, right? It helps you see that there is vast purification. And about these Nyung Nãs, Lama Zopa Rinpoche said it's great for great practice for lay people because you can do it as a weekend practice, set up on Friday night, do Saturday, Sunday, have your final session early Monday morning, and then go off to work if you can. A lot of people say, no, I think I'll take that day off. Thank you very much. It's a pretty hard, I call it what do I call it? Extreme sport of Tibetan Buddhism. Pretty hardcore for us. There's more hardcore practices if you want to do them, but this is good enough. So what you do, apart from having these sessions where you're visualizing Chenrezig, feeling yourself connected to that and to the mantra and so forth, and reciting mantras and prayers. So you have all that. And you're also doing a lot of prostrations. On the first day, you have one meal before midday. On the second day, you have nil by mouth. Now, I have myself participated in and run many Nyung Nãs in January. It's the worst possible time. Or maybe February is the worst possible time. Anyway, you get what I mean. It's way too hot, even with the aircon on. Actually, one of the participants didn't like aircon, so we had to sort of negotiate a middle way approach where sometimes we had it on and sometimes we didn't. It was just like, couldn't you just get over it? Everybody wants aircon. No, we include everybody who wants to do. Yeah. So it's a very powerful practice. As a result of the practice, all your wishes will be totally fulfilled as desired, and they have to be virtuous desires. For example, if someone fasts on the 14th or 15th day of the lunar calendar, so we just had like Friday, which was the day of miracles as well. Basically, it's the day of the full moon. That's generally when we do like Medicine Buddha practice. So it says that particular day is a good day to start. You will neutralize cyclic existence, and in other words, rebirths in samsara of 40,000 eons. A lot. Anyway, all sentient beings who retain my name, which means the mantra, will dwell in the state of irreversibility. So when you get up onto the pure grounds of bodhisattvas, you become irreversible bodhisattva, or we could say irreversible in my intention to become a bodhisattva. That we can say right now, and so forth. Well, yeah. High rebirth, yeah. Mm. Mm. And then it talks about dressing in clean clothes. It talks about the details. So this is a great purification practice, just like with Vajrasattva. So we talked about the different classes of Tantra previously, and that the action Tantra, Kriya Tantra, is very much emphasizing the external in terms of, we have everything nice and clean. We before each session, we wash our mouth and don't have to take a shower every time, although some people do. Even a couple of people I know would like have a different set of clothes each session. It's not necessary. You're fine. Just as long as it's clear, it's fine. But we're trying to sort of steep ourselves in that idea of abiding in purity, in this pure body made of light, in the aspect of the deity. So just this is why we got this book. I got this book at the moment. So we can look at that. Just let me see some of the visualizations that come along with that. This is part of the practice. So if you turn to page 75, there's a lot of preliminaries that come before that. Just be reassured that the left-hand side's Tibetan, so the book is only half as thick as you think it is. It says how to meditate on the self-generation. So there are all these meditations that come along. It's like transforming ourselves into emptiness. That's the first one. We talked about that previously, of like the dissolutions of the, like the time of death. And then instead of rebirth in samsara, you visualize yourself as a pure being, which is the deity of form. We'll get to that. But I just wanted to read the deity of sound and the deity of syllables. So the deity of sound and the deity of syllables are in relation to viewing our speech as pure, resonating in the form of mantra. Okay, so that imagining that everything we say is mantra, but here literally in the practice it is mantra. So here in the deity of sound, so everything's dissolved into emptiness. It says from that sphere of emptiness, the aspect of the tone of the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum resounds, pervading the realm of space. And I find if we think about reciting Om Mani Padme Hum, and not just that we're reciting it, but all those vibrations are going out everywhere into space and transforming everything. Just like Lama Zopa said, quoting the text where it says, if we recite 10 malas, 10 rounds of the mala of Om Mani Padme Hum, then any being who touches the air, that touches your skin, gets blessed. You go into the water, you bless all the beings in the water. You're protected from danger of snakes, which may not be so at the top of your mind in suburban Perth. But when we were living in Chenrezig, it was at the top of our mind. In fact, I remember years ago, there was one woman who was here. She just lived, I stayed at her place when I visited her one time, and because she just lived around the corner. And subsequently, when her daughter left home, she decided, oh, well, now I'm free. I'll go to Chenrezig and I'll do this and this and this. Well, she didn't last very long. Why? Fear of snakes. She wasn't ever attacked by a snake, but the fear of snakes. Anyway, so you'll be protected from fear of snakes. So far, so good. I've been banking on that one. I thought we might pause now and actually say some mantras on Mani Padme Hum and visualize it resounding on every atom of space. Why do I want to do that? Well, one motivation is that there was an email that went around. So if you're in the email list, if you get the emails, that we're accumulating recitations of Om Mani Padme Hum to, around the world that will be offered to His Holiness the Dalai Lama on his birthday, the 6th of July. So if you've got that email, there's a link to a spreadsheet where you enter in your number. So what it suggests is you enter in the number of mantras at the end of each month. So you could do for the end of March, April, May, June. It says number of mantras. Yeah. So you can count your number of malas and convert it. Either you use the tradition of just multiply by 100, or you can technically multiply by 108 because there's 108 beings, but in general, we use 100. We take off a few for any distractions and etc., or whoopses or whatever. Anyway, up to you. I'm not doing your count for you. You're doing your count for you. Anyway, so let's recite for the long life and the health of our His Holiness the Dalai Lama. May he continue to turn the wheel of the Dharma in this very body, in this very life, for the benefit of the world. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. So this mantra is Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So it's on page 85. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Halfway down the page. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Oh, it's actually on page 75. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Not only is it right there in front of us in English transliteration, but it's also there in Tibetan as well, so you can visualize as you wish. So then the deity of syllables, so everything's dissolved into emptiness. It's my mind in the aspect of undifferentiable suchness, emptiness of myself, the deity, and actually we can say the mantra, so we sort of think it's all one. Myself, Chenrezig, mantra, all those positive vibrations are all one. Upon which the very aspect of the tone of, becomes a moon mandala. So it's like you visualize a moon cushion, like 1,000 full moons in the autumn sky, because the autumn sky is sort of the darkest, we think the dark cloudless sky, so that the 1,000 moons illuminate, and they're full moons, so they imagine them illuminating and reflecting off snowy mountains. In other words, lots of light. And on top of that is the aspect of the tone of a mantra resounding in space, just like we did, but it's set down in letters, the letters above there, so we can visualize it like circling around clockwise, each letter standing upwards, and many Om Mani Padme Hums. You can think of it like that. Resounding in space is set down. In other words, it's not lying flat, actually. It's each individual syllable is standing upright in the nature of light. And then it says, in the form of written syllables, which is the sounds and the written letters mixing, like very pure mercury adhering to grains of gold. I just think that's very delicious sort of thing to visualize. Very pure mercury adhering to grains of gold. I don't know the connection of gold and mercury. However, the Dalai Lama just got, I didn't even know it existed, but I read the headline, the Gold Mercury Award for a lifetime of commitment to peace, to harmony, to non-violence, to promoting these in the world, and so forth. So, yeah, there's a Gold Mercury International Award. So, His Holiness is now added to all the other awards, the Nobel Peace Prize and Congressional Medal.
Venerable, if I may.
Yes, please.
Through studying also from Chinese Buddhist traditions, gold is often an analogy that the Buddha has used in sutra, as in a gold ore is impure, but it contains gold which can be extracted.
Yeah.
So the gold is used as an analogy for Buddha nature.
Yes.
But then it requires extracting by purifying the impurities.
Yeah.
And once purified, pure gold will not go back to gold ore with the impurities again. So that's the Buddha's body.
And yes. Thank you.
And mercury is used in the old days for the surface for mirrors. So mirrors made of bronze or silver, they use mercury to clean the surface. Yeah, so to smooth out the surface.
Thank
that
you.
It reflects, and the mirror is like a mind. It's supposed to be a pure reflection of
reflecting pure gold.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's what I think it's
better. Right. Thanks, Thomas. So, yeah, so the Buddha did talk about gold a lot. What's the current price of gold? I was shocked. Something an ounce, right? You know, when it was $250 an ounce, I thought, oh, it's a bit expensive. Because there's one monk at he's now at Kopan. I met him at the house in Aptos, Lama's house in Aptos, which was previously. And so he's writing out the whole Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, 80,000 verses, in pure gold on acid-free paper. So the idea, Rinpoche's idea, is that even the paper disappears. It's acid-free. It's the best, paper to use. That the gold will stay. So that's like this, that the pure gold. Also, the Buddha used that analogy, isn't it? That, so as Thomas just said, it's analogy of our own Buddha nature, but also, as the Buddha said, the speech, the Dharma, that the Buddha said, don't just take what I say because I said it. You check up, just like you would check gold. Is this the real deal? Is it pure? You burn it, you cut it, you melt it, you do all these things. You extract it from the iron ore. And you get the pure gold and you check up if it's the real deal. You want to do that at what is it, $3,000 an ounce? I want to know I'm getting the real deal. I'm not getting any of it, but you would want to know. So if you do have some gold, pure gold, I would say hold on to it. I'm being microphonely challenged. This design of robes is 2,600 years old. It wasn't made for microphone. That's my excuse. And then the deity of form, the syllables transform into 1,000-petaled lotus, as brilliant as refined gold. Here goes the theme. Marked at the center with the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, and from tips of multicolored light rays emitted from the moon lotus. So the lotus, this way you've got the lotus, the moon, and the mantra, innumerable holy bodies of Arya Avalokiteshvara. So it's like on these light rays all these gazillions of Chenrezig, Avalokiteshvara, going out in all directions, pervading all realms of space. Great clouds of miraculously emanating offerings are beautifully offered to the Buddhas and their children. So we talk about these dakinis offering dakinis, and they're offering the, like with the water bowls, they're offering water for drinking, water for bathing the feet, flowers, incense, light, perfume, food, music. So we can, anyway, I won't read through the whole elaborate visualization, but it's very rich. It's really rich. And why is it really rich? Because as we were talking about when we were looking at the intro to Tantra, of wanting to view our own body as pure, the environment as pure, it's being purified by all these, you know, the mantra and all the deities going out. So even when we turn the prayer wheels outside, we're turning, spinning into space, millions and millions of mantras of Om Mani Padme Hum. And even though we can't see it, thinking how that's transforming our environment. So we need very, very powerful visualization to overcome our sense of ordinariness of ourselves. To see ourselves as pure is a challenge, but we are by nature in that state of purity. So there's numerous times where we have visualizations here in the practice. And then, as I mentioned, there's a lot of reciting of the mantra, and there's a lot of visualized prostrations. Yeah, so we'll talk more about prostrations next week. So that is sort of like a preliminary introduction to the practice of Nyung Nä. And this text goes a lot more extensively through the, what do you call it, benefits, amazing benefits of this practice. So as soon as I was thinking about talking about this, I thought everyone's going to say, when are we doing a Nyung Nä? We had one last year here. We managed to do it at the centre, even though it's not residential. But I was thinking if we might combine, I would have to talk to Tara Meditation Centre. We've talked a few times about maybe combining one and actually having it somewhere in between, in a retreat space. But anyway, given that there's not, there is a opportunity for those who wish to engage in Nyung Nä practice. I didn't check the Chenrezig Institute calendar, but every year, usually at the time of Sakadala, that there is, which is either at the end of May or beginning of June. I also didn't check that date for this year because it's all the, you know, Tibetan astrology. They do, what was classical in Tibet was to do 8 Nyung Nãs back to back. So here, for a commitment for discovering Buddhism is 3. We could do 3 in a row if we had, you know, the capacity. One. We did 1 here. Yeah. So 1, as I said, is pretty hardcore. The more you do, actually, the easier it gets. And I think they must have just started again, because I got something from one of our nuns who's at Institute Vajrayagini doing the round of 108 Nyung Nãs, which some of our friends have done at least once. In France, yeah. So one of the students over East, and the first time she went, she was at the gym training to go. And I said, I said, why are you at the gym before you do the Nyung Nãs? Because it's like, It's like being at the gym doing the 108 Nyung. Yeah, it did make sense to her too, thankfully. So don't listen to me. It is true. Like I remember the first Nyung Nä I did, and there was another woman who did it for the first time who was not Buddhist. So you don't have to be Buddhist to do it necessarily. When the prostrations had happened, she was so enthusiastic doing all the prostrations, and she loved it. She loved the whole practice. On the final morning, when you get to break the fast with having something to drink, she ended up in the toilet throwing up. So that, you know, there used to be on Langri Tangpa website, they long time ago had this, you know, whole screed about whether the people who throw up, and then there's those who maybe faint was the other thing with the prostrations. So the idea is to know ourselves and not do either of those things. To pace ourselves. It is an intense practice. I think maybe those of you who have done Nyung Nä can talk to its benefits. Just I'm looking this way.
I had to modify mine because I can't do 4 sessions a day. But at the end, in Venerable Chökyi, the first thing I said, when can I do some more?
You feel good at the end. You feel fantastic. You don't feel good in the middle of it.
No, but at the end.
But at the end, you feel great. Which you could say is a mark of purification then, because you do feel cleansed, uplifted. Yeah.
Doing, because you've got to concentrate so much on what you're doing.
Okay, so any questions about that? When are we going to do the 3? No, people are looking like, maybe not. But as we did last year, like we offered that, and then if people were interested to just get a taster, they could come to some of the, particularly the first afternoon, the sessions where people are still talking. Oh, because on the second day, not only is it nil by mouth, it's also not talking, which is probably a good thing, because you're not there going, oh, my back hurts, my this hurts, my that hurts, and oh, I don't think I'll get through this. So that you might be saying that internally, but until the end, when you, it's not coming out your mouth. So, yes, Ollie.
You know, there are other types of Nyung Nä. The front page says means of achieving, etc. of the Lakshmi tradition.
Of the Lakshmi tradition. Well, there is another one that is a one-day one. I just can't remember the name. I know they've done it at Chenrezig in recent time. A one-day one where, yeah, I'd have to look into. You don't do the fasting day. It wouldn't meet the requirements for the discovering Buddhism, but it might be nice for people who just, I mean, people could do the, like we could offer a Nyung Nä and people could do the one day off the Nyung Nä. Because the other thing to keep in mind, of course, if your doctor advises, if anyone has health issues, that they would need to check with the doctor if it's advisable to do, well, particularly the fasting day. Having said that, there was someone who did last year who had been advised by the doctor not to fast. And I kept offering all the ways you can not fast. But they did not fast. They weren't.
They didn't break their fast.
They didn't break their fast, and they had done many Nyung Nãs before, so it wasn't like they were coming in.
And
cold.
last time I ran into it, first thing she said is, "When are we doing more?"
Yeah, it's someone who just is very passionate about Nyung Nãs. So people do get hooked very quickly by Nyung Nãs. But I've also met people who their Lama told them never to do Nyung Nãs, that they'd die if they did them. Like, yeah. So but he did give them pretty intense other retreat practice to do. Generally with the medication, what I say is if there's any medication where it doesn't matter what time of day, you take them before dawn when you're going to take that meal by mouth. If it is, then you just take with the smallest sip of water that you can comfortably take it with. Yeah, if you need to take. That's true. It's quite valid. So please don't go off any medication. No, it's not the intent. But that's, yeah. Then on the first day, you also, as I said, you don't eat after midday. And part of the purity, it's also like this when we were doing the 3-month Vajrasattva retreat, that it's that same thing, emphasis on purification. And so you take what we call the 8 Mahayana precepts. So people are usually fine with absolutely everything of those 8 Mahayana precepts, except the one that says no eating after midday. But of course, if you're doing a Nyung Nä, you're going to be doing no eating. And even the food, the meal you do have, it's the same as when you take a Kriya Tantra empowerment, that you refrain from, in any case, whether you've taken the precepts or not, when you're taking an empowerment, you have no meat, no eggs, no onion family, no garlic family, no radish family. And then in the Nyung Nä text, it also says no sesames, seeds, and no peas. But in general, taking the 8 Mahayana precepts, it doesn't say not those, but when you do Nyung Nä, it says not. So in other words, someone cooks up a yummy lunch for you. That is what we call precepts friendly. Yes. I know it is, isn't it? So the reason for that is because you're working also with subtle energies in the body. So we'll look at that in relation to Vajrasattva of what we call the subtle body. That's not the physical body, but it does affect the energies of the body. And you're not wanting to cause any innovation or so forth. You're wanting to work with what we talk about, the channels in this subtle body, and you want those to be as pure as possible. Basically the subtle energies in the body you want to keep pure. So for myself, like for example, I don't voluntarily have garlic or onions. Of course, I'm an onion and I accept what's offered. I don't voluntarily have meat or eggs, or, I notice why I'm mentioning particular onion and garlic. When I do have them, it's sort of like my dreams become very vivid, which is sort of okay in one way, but it suddenly all gets very busy in there.
So you've got a sense of the fact that the energy is disturbed or different.
The energy is different, but the reason I have a sense of that is because I don't know. And so, it's that contrast when you do have it. Some people go off, like some people during retreats go off coffee, but be warned, I had somebody who decided the Vajrasattva weekend retreat was a good time to go off coffee. She left the retreat on Saturday afternoon because she had headaches, coffee withdrawal. Please don't do that. Go off well before, but not during the retreat. It's hard enough as it is. Okay. All right. So, yes, please. No, never be sorry.
That garlic.
Yeah.
I don't know who that someone is also telling how in traditional culture all of the monks and nuns are in the retreat together.
And they don't want the smell of the onion and garlic.
Yeah.
This is why you also have no perfume. Because no perfume, because you become more sensitized. And so then, well, there's 2 reasons why no perfume. One of them is, yes, that sensitivity when you're in group retreat. But really the main thing is it's seen as an adornment. Like we don't need perfumes, believe it or not, to live. Just saying. And of course, when you're ordained, no perfumes, it's just no jewelry, things like that. So you do it for this retreat time. Yeah. Weekend Vajrasattva.
It's not residential to take that.
This is our opportunity that we can. My preference would be yes, I would be encouraging that we do that. And of course, medical advice pending. So getting on to the Vajrasattva, thank you for raising it, Natalie, because we have a Vajrasattva retreat here over Easter, in which we will be having like the 4 sessions a day. We can't, well, unless we have only very few people, make it a residential retreat because we just don't have the space available for people to be in residential retreat. It's one of those days.
That's like someone had a motorhome, a little camper van, so they parked it up the side and they slept in that.
We had like 2 guys out the back, another one in the car, another one there, one in the library, and then
slept on the floor in the library.
Did someone join us over there? No, there wasn't another one joining. Yeah. Anyway, we were able to accommodate the number we had because I sort of thought, if more people come, we can have a person there, a person there. Right. Like it's only like 2 nights. It's not like,
And they did a roster for the shower.
Yes.
Because it's in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's only 1 shower, so you have to roster that. Yeah. So it's sort of doable if you only have a small number of people, but I'm hoping we get more than a small number of people for Vajrasattva. Yeah, I was just thinking about that, whether I've actually set the schedule or not. I don't know. Sooner or later, I'll get an email from our IT person saying, where's the schedule? He's looking now to see. Oh, yeah, to prompt me for it, yeah. Okay, so Vajrasattva practice is, everyone's familiar with Vajrasattva practice, or maybe not. So in any case, it's in the silver book here. Page 200 and 200. 200, is it? So Vajrasattva, similar to Chen Rezig, is visualizing, it's a purification practice that actually we've been, we're going to, after the Easter retreat, kickstart again our monthly afternoon, weekend afternoon practice of Vajrasattva, where we normally do 3 sessions of around 45 minutes. So with breaks and make it comfortable to familiarize with the practice. So here again for the Discovering Buddhism, and Vajrasattva is one of the traditional, what we call non-dro preliminary practices. So some people are here now, a small group of people coming together and doing the refuge non-dro, so like 100,000 recitations of the refuge prayer within the context of a short sadhana practice. So it's like this with Vajrasattva. It is about reciting, and for this module, 100,000, or we normally add on 10%, 111, to do, allow for mistakes of the long mantra. However, generally as a daily practice, it's advised to do this practice that's laid out here, and we've got a couple of little pocket-sized books of exactly this practice out in the free book area. It's also online, easy accessible on lam-rim.com. So Lama Yeshe did introduce this very early on to students, encouraging us to engage in purification practice, because we need to cleanse our minds of all these disturbing states of mind. We've got many different approaches through meditation, through visualization and mantra recitation. So it's a complete package. And that comes along with what we call the four opponent powers, and it's all set out here. So if you turn to page 202, where it says the power of dependence, taking refuge, and opposite, it's got the power of dependence, generating bodhicitta. So the power of dependence or power of reliance. The taking refuge part is relying on Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, saying, you know, I need your help. And the power of and generating guru devotion, you know, sort of our enhancing our faith in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and our own guru, inseparable from that. The other side of generating bodhicitta is that bodhicitta is generated in relation to other sentient beings, our compassionate action, not bearing to see the suffering of others. So that's that. So the two go together. The power of regret is when we call to mind, okay, this is what, you know, anger just comes like that. I don't know where it comes from, but it just sort of arises. So I want to purify my anger. So we might take a particular affliction, emotion that we're working with right now, and then have a regret for something that I might have said or done out of that anger or out of jealousy or out of pride, some way I made a mistake. And why Vajrasattva? Because Vajrasattva did exactly that. Vajrasattva, when so-called ordinary being training on the path, would make all these mistakes, break his vows, give teachings and give the incorrect teaching. His students have to correct the teaching he gave and so forth. So when you train on these bodhisattva grounds, you make a commitment, you know, when I become a Buddha, this is going to be my specialty, if you like, you know, my area of specialization, like Tara, swift action, or Chenrezig, compassion, and Manjushri, wisdom. So Vajrasattva was like, you know, I want to help other beings who, like me, have difficulty and break their vows and, you know, make mistakes and so forth. And also showing it's possible to actually nonetheless be free of all that and become a Buddha. Don't give up hope, right? So Vajrasattva is a very powerful practice because of that particular commitment, the Buddha Vajrasattva. So things of regret. So here we use something realistic, we call that to mind. But you can also add on in that, I like to just say, and anything I have, any harm I've done with my body, speech, and mind since beginningless time that has not yet been purified, I'm going to add in everything else as well. So just sort of go for the max. But it's good to have something specific, because then over time you can also see your progress, that this is what I'm chipping away at, right? And then there's the visualization of Vajrasattva. So many different, and if you turn the page, the power of the remedy is whatever particular practice we do. So here, in this context, it's Vajrasattva. It could be Chenrezig, it could be prostrations, etc. So the power of the remedy is, in this case, the remedy is the mantra recitation along with the visualizations that we do in relation to that. So we have these three main visualizations of a purification practice. So we visualize Vajrasattva above the crown of the head, and then this purifying light and nectar coming in through our body, cleansing us as we recite the mantra. And that goes down through the lower orifices, disappears. And Yama, the Lord of Death, we can visualize down there, having opened up a crack in the earth, ready to gobble up it all and seal off the earth. So we can visualize, okay, all those negativities, all those harms are done and gone. And the more powerful we visualize that and commit to that, the more confidence we have that is purified, the more powerful the practice becomes. In fact, any of these 4 opponent powers, the more powerful we engage with that. I'd say the more powerful our regret, the more genuine, but quick. I need it purified right now, because I don't want even one more moment of negative karma, arising in my mind and multiplying and having then negative consequences for me and for others. I don't keep it in check. So like that. And so after the remedy, there's one visualization, we call that one the downwards one. There's another one where we visualize that light and nectar filling us up from the bottom all the way up to the top. And those, like when we have like skim, on top of milk or oil on top of water, and it goes out, gets expelled up and out through our upper orifices. So that's the upward purification. And the third one that Lama Yeshe says is the most powerful, because nothing actually, you're not visualizing anything leaving your body. It's called instantaneous, where the light goes on, like the light from Vajrasattva hits your crown, and instantly the darkness is eliminated, the darkness of our ignorance. So we're getting more and more subtle levels of cleansing our mind. First of all, they say it's like shaking out the dust in a rag, and it's easy to shake that out. And then another level needs to be put it through the washing machine, and another level needs the more sort of intense scrubbing cycle. We need to, sort of work at different levels of our mind to continuously purify. And then after all of that, it says generating the faith of having been purified. Thank you, Vajrasattva, for coming to my aid and helping me, and really having that conviction, I'm now completely purified. When we take any vows, any empowerments or so forth, for that moment, our mind's completely pure. We haven't broken those vows yet. And that may go on for a period of time, like one of our nun friends who passed away, and she said, I've only been ordained for a year. I haven't had time to break any vows. I was like, good. Your intention isn't to break vows, but that sense of, while your mind's in that purity. So that's what we're holding our mind in, that purity. And then we have the final one, the power of restraint or promise, or to say refraining from engaging in that activity again. We have to be realistic. It would be not realistic, unless you're a great bodhisattva or Buddha, to say, I'll never get angry again. But we could say, I'm going to work at reducing that anger, and at least I won't get angry before I finish this practice. I think I can confidently say that. Or as I introduced to the first guy I visited in prison for the prison project, and I said, you do it before you go to bed. For 8 hours, you're not harming anybody. It blew his mind, because you always thought he was a bad person. Because, that gets reinforced when you're in a prison setting. It's just like, oh, great, I can have 8 hours of not harming. Fantastic. So this is why we tend to do as a daily practice also 21 minimum of the mantra is said to be like maintenance level, so that you purify any karma, negative karma you've accumulated in that day, right? But this is why we like to do retreat, half days, Easter retreat, 3-month retreat, to purify as much as we can in one sitting or 4 sittings or daily sittings and so forth. So it's a wonderful, wonderful practice to do. So in making this sort of pledge promise, it's like we're chipping away at those afflictions in our mind, or chipping away at, I want to give up swearing. So for example, there was a director of a centre in New Zealand, and he's no longer a director of a centre, it's okay. And Lama Zopa, when he met him, said, wash your mouth out with soap. I never heard him swear, So maybe it worked. Yeah, anyway, no.
Oh, no, I'm just smiling.
Oh, it was no
I was
comment.
just thinking-
No, I thought you had your hand up earlier. Okay, alrighty. Yeah, so we're all works in progress, basically. So this is a nice package of a daily practice or practice that we will be doing here for the April Vajrasattva retreat, Easter retreat, and then we're going to reintroduce the monthly sessions. So I've already been talking with my colleague about when we would. Yeah, it's also it's a wonderful practice. If you turn here, also on page 207, there's this what says breathing exercise. This is often called the 9-round breathing, although there's different variations of what is called the 9-round breathing. And here it talks about these 3 main channels in our body. The central channel, like a transparent tube. And we've got to talk about this is not actually something physical in our body. If we think about it in the nature of light, it's a more subtle energy in our body. It's described like a transparent tube because we have to use words. So sometimes I say the thickness of a straw, and then I go, well, is that a thick straw or a thin straw? Is my metal straw? Is it my... No, it's a straw of light. And it goes down from the crown chakra down to, well, there's debates about whether it's actually in front of the spine, behind the spine, but generally we say in front, but it goes down to what's called the secret chakra. So it's, we generally say 5 finger widths below the navel. And then there's 2 side ones that go from the nostrils and hook around inside the skull and down over either side. It says like umbrella handles, old-fashioned variety, running downwards, and they're slightly thinner on either side, and they meet just below the navel chakra. So I think we mentioned channels and chakras and drops in the intro to Tantra classes. So it's generally said there are 72,000 channels in the body. So there's a lot going on in there. And hence with the, sort of refraining from certain foods because it's a lot of, everything can be affected. But, if we start with this visualization of the 3 main channels, we're already accessing that more subtle light body. And given that what we're wanting to achieve eventually is this pure Buddha body in the nature of light, we're getting closer to that through this visualization. So then there's instruction of like how to breathe in through the left nostril, going down the left tube of light channel, crossing over the central channel where that meets, coming up through the right nostril. And that as you're doing that, you're pushing out or any desire energy, our sensual desire, attachment, craving, grasping, that sort of energy. It's like we're trying to cleanse. Okay, we're talking about cleansing these channels, but really we're talking about cleansing our mind. And then you reverse that, coming in through the right nostril, going down across and out the left, cleansing our aversion energy, ill will, vengeance, hatred, anger, irritation, all of that energy. And then we breathe in through both nostrils and bring that down the central channel to that spot, 4 or 5 finger widths below the navel, together with the saliva, holding our breath there, and tightening. It's called often the gentle bars breathing, tightening the pelvic and genital muscles and holding that down together with our saliva. We're visualizing that because I don't think the saliva goes down that far. It goes down to your stomach, right? Yeah. But we're visualizing it going down there. Just feeling that energy. And then when it gets a bit uncomfortable, then you naturally release your breath through the nostrils as usual. But you're imagining that all your ignorance energy, the pervasive grasping, self-grasping, is pushed up and out through your crown chakra. And that the subtle energy winds come into the central channel and dissolve inside at your heart. Right. When it says heart chakra, please don't think it's at your physical heart chakra, which is there at the center of your chest and the sternum. So it's a challenging visualization. I thought we could do that. You want to do this breathing exercise just to see, and then you can make comments about how it goes for you. Some of you may be quite familiar with it, others this might be completely new, could well be. So this doesn't have to be done just in the context of the Vajrasattva practice, but this is also, you can do it without having an empowerment, which means you can familiarize with the another foundation of tantric practice, because when you engage in the higher levels of tantric practice, you're talking, you're engaging with a lot of channels, and this idea of bringing all the, as it says, prana, this sort of subtle wind energy into the central channel. And that becomes also significant in relation to the death process, but we don't need to go into all of that. But in general, just thinking that in any case, even without doing this visualization, that in day-to-day life, instead of our energy being dispersed out through all our sensory engagement, of having this sense of bringing our energies inwards, just like we do in meditation, we're gathering our energy inwards. And that way we become more stable, sense of resilience, power. We're accessing our actual power. There's many, many benefits that maybe someone like Chökyi could talk about the benefits of meditation. Don't want to put you on the spot, right? Anyone could, right? Why do we meditate? Why meditate? Because we want to cultivate that stability, that focus of the mind in a relaxed way. So this is not about being tight. In fact, the more relaxed, the more easy and beneficial is the practice, a sense of spaciousness and clarity. We want to develop our clarity, because on the basis of that clarity, we then develop our wisdom. So there's a purpose to everything we do. Okay, let's give it a go. Sitting well grounded to the earth below, feeling that support coming up literally from the earth through the floor, carpet, mat, cushion, chair, and providing for your feet, for your legs, for your buttocks, a really stable foundation, rather than feeling you're holding yourself up. You're sitting down, settling into meditation. Settling into the space of your body, just as it is. And then withdrawing our sensory consciousnesses, our sense engagement with the world around us, bringing that energy inwards into the center of our body. Simply being aware of the breath. However you experience the breath in the body, please don't change anything. Your body's doing a great job, knows how to breathe itself. Simply resting your awareness each moment of the breath in, each moment of the breath out, any stillness in between breaths, just as it is. Dwell in each moment of the breath. Just do that for a few breaths. I'll guide you through this breathing exercise, 9-round breathing, through the visualization that goes with it. So you can visualize in the subtle body, there are 3 main channels, tubes of light. The central channel, it's like a transparent tube, very flexible, extending through the center of your body from the crown chakra, the top of your head, to the secret chakra below. And the 2 side channels are a little bit thinner than the central channel, and they start from the nostrils, running up inside the head, inside your skull, curving around and down either side of the central channel, parallel, also in the nature of light, and meeting it just below the navel chakra, or finger widths below your navel. And just visualize that. So we're going to breathe in slowly, focusing on the air coming in through the left nostril. So you start slowly. I'll describe it and we can do it. You start slowly, and then with gravity, it speeds up a bit and slows down at the end of the breath in, bringing it down through the left channel where it crosses over at the navel, and you exhale, the air flows out through the right tube, right channel, up and out the right nostril, doing that 3 times and thinking that as you breathe out, you're expelling any desire, attachment, energy, craving, grasping, and it disappears completely. And this tube of light becomes more and more translucent, more and more radiant, pure. 3 times. And then we'll repeat that process, breathing in through the right nostril and out through the left, the same. And this time, as you start slowly, speeds up, crosses over, and as you breathe out, all the aversion, energy, hatred, even the slightest irritation, ill will, revenge, all that toxic energy is expelled out and completely vanishes, doesn't exist anywhere through breath. To really feel that being truly cleansed, and again, that tube of light is more translucent, pure. And the final time, breathing in through both nostrils, bringing the breath down through the central channel, visualizing it coming down the central channel together with your saliva, and holding the breath at the level of the navel chakra, or finger widths below the navel, and tighten up from below your pelvic and genital muscles. And you can feel like the energy of the breath pressing down, and this one up and just holding it together there, what the bars, and just try and feel their energy until you start to feel uncomfortable. And then just when you do, just gently, naturally release your breath. Exhale the breath energy out through your nose and imagine all your ignorance energy is expelled through the crown of your head, and these subtle wind energies gather into the central channel and dissolve inside at your heart chakra in the center of your chest. 3 breaths, do the best you can. And when you're finished, just let your breath be in its natural rhythm. Naturally. I think the benefits that have come from engaging in this 9-round breathing continue to linger in body and mind. To this brief meditation. Okay, just relax and so when we were doing the 3-month Vajrasattva retreat, we would do that every session, and at the point of just before the visualization, some people might prefer to do it right at the beginning of the practice, but some of us found it effective to do just before the visualization of Vajrasattva and so forth, because you're establishing these subtle energies in the body that you're going to work with them with the purification practice. And one of the participants who was sitting behind me, because when we have regular discussion group, how the practice was going, any questions, any comments about the practice and so forth. And so this person had asked a question about why we do this 9-round breathing. And we had discussion about that. And then one day I get this note passed from behind with a drawing of a coin, which was a penny. They put 1p on it and an arrow. The penny dropped. And the other people around laughed because they'd been passing notes behind my back. And because I laughed, because he passed me a note, then they could relax because it was like, oh, it's okay. She's got a note passed. Yeah, we were in silence, and then we were having lunch together in the same in Sangha house together. And everyone was supposed to be in silence for the first month, at least until after we finished eating. That's a sort of fairly common practice in our retreats, in our organisation. And I'd be coming up the path and I could hear them going, shh, she's coming. It's just like, either you see the benefit of abiding in silence or you don't. But well, the second month was not. So you do a retreat, like it's called like a barley grain, or it could be a rice grain. So that was the first month. The second month was silence 24/7. I'm not going to say if everyone will maintain that silence because I actually don't know. And then you taper out in the last month, because it's sort of like you're coming into the retreat, and then it's the actual, you're abiding in the retreat, and then you're coming out of that. Because what's the retreat really about? Any retreat that we do, it's retreating from our afflictions, our deluded states of mind. And yes, we remove ourselves from maybe our regular family or so forth, come to a place like this and engage in a retreat day or days or so forth, and have that sense of I'm in retreat. But the real retreat is retreat from the afflictions. So with this practice, the Nyung Nä practice as well, we can also look at, when if we're not able to do it as a group practice, or we prefer to do it, and we have the conditions in our own place to do it as an individual practice, we can do that. Like this, the nun I said had the commitment to do 1,000. Actually, I saw her recently after quite a few years. I knew last time when we had the Mandala magazine, there was a write-up about her, and she'd done 500 at that point. So I asked her if she was still doing the Nyung Nãs, and she said, she got to 800, and then Rinpoche gave her different instructions. So, yeah. But there are like, I'm thinking about the student I mentioned before, who Rinpoche, did the 108 Nyung Nãs at Nalanda, along with a lot of other people, not Nalanda, Institute Vajragini in France. And then not long before Lama Zopa Rinpoche passed, he advised her to go to Sum Valley, which is actually where Rinpoche got the altitude sickness. But he was making plans for Sum because there are nuns there who are doing a lot of Nyung Nãs and so forth. So there were many who'd done at least 1,000 Nyung Nãs, if not more, if not a couple of thousand. And Rinpoche advised her to go there, not only to go there, but to walk there from Kathmandu. 3 days. I saw her just after she had come back, and she said, there was moments when I thought, this is death, sort of on the cliff, thinking, this is it, I'm a goner. Amazingly, I said, how many pairs of shoes did you go through? Because I thought, like, how many shoes do you take on a long trek like that? How many pairs? She said she went through 2 pairs of trekking boots. Yeah. Anyway, she did. She went there and she did the Nyung Nãs, and she's now preparing to go back again. She's working out at the gym. She's earning money, and she's getting herself prepared to go again. Amazing. Yeah. And she's an Australian student. Amazing. Wonderful. So this is all by way of inspiring us to engage in these practices. So that's, and again, how much these are part of tantric practice. And with the Nyung Nãs, the way that it's written, when I read the bit before about, and it talks about self-generation. So self-generation is when, as I mentioned previously, when you have taken the empowerment, like Lama Zopa Rinpoche bestowed the great Chenrezig empowerment here last time we visited here in 2006. And it's over 2 days. Maybe, anyone? No. We'll see. I was able to get my frequent flyers. Anyway, enough of that. So Rinpoche gave that empowerment here last time, and he gave the commitment of 3 Nyung Nãs within 5 years, or to do a mala of Om Mani Padme Hum every day for the rest of your life. Now, a mala of Om Mani Padme Hum takes less than a minute, generally, like particularly when you're very familiar with it. So given that we've been asked to contribute those to Long Life of His Holiness Dalai Lama, they will be presented. Just think, even my one mum contributing to, being offered to the Dalai Lama on his 90th birthday. We all do that. We can all do that. Okay. Questions, comments? So next week we'll go on with the other commitments for this. So you can see it's a tall order. Yeah. Yes, the thing about the mantra, because it's a 100-syllable mantra, so we might balk at and go, oh, that's too hard. But I will pass on the advice I was given. Just take your mantra for a walk. So go for a walk, and as you go for the walk, because there are recordings like on the Lama Yeshe or FPMT, where you could even have it in your ears and be learning, but you can just, the person who told me, it was way before we were putting things in our ears and listening to them. It was just like, okay. I don't know about you can write it on your arm, a bit too much. Maybe. Yes, by doing the retreats, yeah.
And it took me ages, and I'm writing it down how I heard it.
Yeah, but it's familiarization. When we're doing we've got it there in front of us, and you just do the best you can. People get stressed out about how they're pronouncing it. So it's written in Sanskrit. Our Tibetan lamas have a Tibetan accent, either a central Hausa accent, Ando, Kam. And if you hear those accents, they're very different. Just ask any translator when they're asked to translate for someone, and I can't understand that accent. Even the Dalai Lama, who was from Amdo, he said, I can't understand Amdo accent anymore. He said that a number of years ago. He says, I just can't understand it anymore. Let alone then we have our Westerner accent. And, so you just, with a mind of conviction that you're reciting it purely, don't get hung up in ordinariness at all. Just think of the purity. And then the results come. Okay, so we'll leave that here for today and dedicate. Page 8. Gewadi nyudu da lama sange tukuni drowa chika malupa deyi salagopa sho chanchup sencho grimposhe make panam ge puchi ge panyampa me payam Gogni gonu pawa shu. A long life prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Next page. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling joy, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world. May you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And a prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, peerless teacher, an assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate desire. Okay, see you. Stay well.